Alan Hayes stood at the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, his eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that had appeared just beyond the moon. It wasn't like anything humanity had encountered before. Sleek, impossibly large, and radiating power that made their sensors fluctuate wildly. "Message incoming, Captain," said Communications Officer Diane Wells, her voice steady despite the tension filling the room. Alan nodded. On screen, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing a tall, multi-limbed being with iridescent skin and cold, calculating eyes. "People of Earth," the alien began, its voice translated through the computer systems. "I am High Commander Zorax of the Galactic Council. Your primitive species has been observed for some time, and the Council has determined that your planet's resources are now required for the greater good of advanced civilizations. You will surrender all mining and extraction rights to Council representatives within 72 of your Earth hours." Alan's jaw tightened. "And if we refuse?" The alien's mouthparts twitched in what might have been amusement. "Then your species will be cleansed from this sector. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Resistance would be inefficient." After the transmission ended, Alan wasted no time contacting Earth's unified government. Within hours, he found himself in the Global Defense Headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by the planet's top military and scientific minds. "They've positioned satellites beyond our sensor range," said General Linda Powell, pointing to newly discovered anomalies. "They've been studying our defenses for months." Dr. Olivia Martinez, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward. "I've analyzed the biological data we gathered during the transmission. These Council species have a unique respiratory system, highly efficient, but potentially vulnerable to specific compounds we could synthesize. We need time for that," Alan said. "And they've only given us 72 hours. "Actually," interrupted systems analyst Kevin Foster, "I discovered something while scanning their ship. Their technology is advanced, but their communication protocols have vulnerabilities. They're so confident in their superiority that their cybersecurity is surprisingly basic." The Earth Defense Council debated through the night. Surrender was unthinkable. Fighting seemed hopeless, but as dawn broke over the mountain facility, a plan began to form. "We've been quiet for too long," President Sofia Rodriguez said, addressing the emergency assembly. "Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before, from ourselves, from nature, from space. Each time, we've survived by adapting, by using our creativity and determination." Ellen studied the tactical displays showing the Council ship and its smaller vessels, now entering Earth orbit. "They expect us to either surrender or mount a conventional defense. We need to do something unexpected." "What if we make them think we're surrendering?" suggested Dr. Martinez. "I could have a prototype biological agent ready in 48 hours. If we can get it aboard their command ship." "I can help with that," Kevin said. "Their communication systems are vulnerable to a specific type of quantum interference we've been experimenting with. We could potentially mask a small infiltration team." As the Council's deadline approached, Earth appeared to prepare for surrender. Supply ships were readied, official delegations were announced, and public broadcasts advised calm cooperation. But deep beneath the surface, Olivia worked frantically in her lab. Alan trained a special operations team, and Kevin refined his hacking protocols. "They think we're just another primitive species to be conquered," Alan said during the final briefing. "But humanity has never bowed to tyrants, not even galactic ones." The countdown timer showed just 12 hours remaining when President Rodriguez addressed the nations of Earth one last time before communications would be restricted. "For all our history, we have fought amongst ourselves. Today, we stand together. The Galactic Council believes they are delivering an ultimatum to Earth. Instead, they are about to receive humanity's first and last warning to the galaxy." Sam Collins hunched over his terminal in the dimly lit archives beneath West Point Military Academy. The lieutenant had been searching for 3 days straight, fueled by coffee and determination. Ancient military records flashed across his screen. Tactics, battles, and weapons long forgotten. There has to be something here, Sam muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. His search had begun after Captain Hayes sent a classified message to Earth's military installations. Find anything that might help against the Council. While most focused on current technology, Sam had a different idea. He dug into sealed records from 2097, the mysterious lost year when Earth's communications had gone silent for 9 months. Got you, Sam whispered as his security clearance finally unlocked a hidden folder. What he found stunned him. Detailed battle plans, weapon schematics, and after-action reports describing a brief, fierce war against an advanced alien scout force. Humanity had won, but at great cost. The victory had been classified to prevent global panic. Sam immediately sent the findings to Captain Hayes. These aliens used similar technology to the Council. We beat them once before. Across the planet in New Mexico, Engineer Kelly Wright stood in a massive testing chamber, watching as Council weapon signatures, carefully recorded during their first appearance, blasted against her experimental shield. The shield didn't just hold. It absorbed the energy, growing stronger. "How is this possible?" asked her assistant. Kelly smiled tiredly. "I reversed the polarity of their own shield technology based on our scans. It's like fighting fire with fire. Their weapons actually strengthen our defenses after initial impact." Kelly's discovery traveled up the chain of command within hours. In the orbital shipyards, workers began retrofitting Earth's defensive fleet with the new shield technology. Meanwhile, Earth's colonies throughout the solar system prepared for resistance. On Mars, miners converted excavation equipment into makeshift weapons. The Jupiter moons readied evacuation protocols. Saturn's research stations began broadcasting false readings to mask their locations. Dr. Martinez's video call connected with bases across the solar system. The Council species share a common respiratory system. Their evolution on high-oxygen worlds made them efficient but vulnerable. My team has developed an airborne compound that will temporarily paralyze their breathing function without being lethal. "How fast can you produce it?" asked General Powell. "That's the problem. We need at least 2 more weeks for mass production." Ellen Hayes joined the call. "We need to buy that time. The Council expects immediate surrender or a desperate last stand. We'll give them neither." On the Council mothership, High Commander Zorax received troubling reports. The humans appear to be preparing for surrender, yet our deep scans detect unusual activity in their orbital facilities, reported his second-in-command. "Primitive deception," Zorax dismissed. "Their technology advances at a predictable rate. Our models show they are at least 3 centuries from developing anything that could threaten us." The second-in-command hesitated. "There are anomalies in their communication patterns, and our historical database shows these humans adapt unusually quickly under pressure." "Your concerns are noted," Zorax said coldly. "Prepare the extraction fleet. We begin operations as soon as their deadline expires." Back on Earth, President Rodriguez addressed the emergency session of world leaders. "For the first time in human history, we face an external threat that makes our differences meaningless. The Council believes we will surrender our resources without a fight. They have gravely misunderstood humanity." As she spoke, Earth's first true stealth ships, incorporating both Kelly's shield technology and Sam's recovered alien countermeasures, slipped from hidden bases across the solar system. "The Council gave us an ultimatum," continued the President, her voice firm. "They do not realize they have awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity will not just survive this encounter. We will change the very structure of galactic power." The Council demonstration fleet appeared above Europa without warning. 12 massive warships, their weapons already charging as they positioned themselves over the human settlement of New Anchorage. The colony, home to just over 30,000 people, had been chosen specifically to show Earth the price of defiance. "Begin the cleansing," ordered Fleet Commander Jax. "Make sure Earth's sensors capture every moment." But as the lead warship prepared to fire, alarms blared across its command deck. "Energy signatures approaching." "They weren't there a second ago," shouted a sensor operator. From behind Europa's far side emerged 5 Earth vessels, smaller than the Council ships, but moving with surprising speed. Captain Alan Hayes sat in the command chair of the lead ship, the Defiant. All ships, activate right shields and execute attack pattern Sigma, Alan ordered calmly. Remember your training. They expect us to break and run. The Earth ships darted between the much larger Council vessels, seemingly suicidal. The Council weapons discharge, massive energy beams cutting through space, only to be absorbed by the shimmering shields around the human vessels. Impossible, Jack shouted as the reports came in. Their shields are primitive. They can't possibly. Sir, our weapons are strengthening their defenses somehow, a tactical officer reported in disbelief. Ellen watched as his small fleet executed the battle plan perfectly. Phase 2. Lieutenant Collins, you're up. Sam Collins, commanding a squadron of even smaller fighter craft, hidden on Europa's surface, gave the order to launch. His fighters, barely larger than shuttles, swarmed from concealed hangars across the moon's icy surface. Remember, unpredictable patterns only. These aliens expect organized military formations, Sam reminded his pilots. Hit and scatter. The Council military had never encountered such tactics. For millennia, they had fought structured battles against organized opponents. The human fighters moved like insects, seemingly without pattern or reason, darting in to deliver precise strikes before vanishing again. Their attack makes no sense. Jax raged as another of his ships reported critical damage. Establish a defensive perimeter. Find the pattern in their movements. But there was no pattern to find. Each human pilot made independent decisions, creating chaos that Council battle computers couldn't predict. From the Defiant, Alan transmitted a simple message to the Council fleet. Consider this our response to your ultimatum. The Defiant then fired its main weapon, not at the Council ships, but into Europa's atmosphere. A brilliant flash erupted, not destroying anything but creating an electromagnetic pulse that Earth had carefully designed to disrupt Council sensors. In the 20 seconds of blindness that followed, 3 Council ships were critically damaged by the swarming fighters. Withdraw, Jax finally ordered, humiliated. Regroup at the fallback position. As the Council fleet retreated, Sam's fighters returned to their hidden bases, and Alan's ships took defensive positions around Europa. Captain, his communications officer said, we're receiving transmissions from across the solar system. Earth has broadcast everything. The Council's unprovoked attack, our defensive response, all of it, to every corner of the galaxy on frequencies we know neutral species monitor. Alan nodded. Good. The galaxy needs to see that the Council started this fight, and that humans know how to finish one. On the Council homeworld, the Supreme Council watched the battle recordings with growing concern. These humans were supposed to be primitive, said the oldest member. How did they develop shields that absorb our weapons? How did they know exactly how to counter our tactics? High Commander Zorax stood rigidly before them. A minor setback. We will adjust our approach and crush this resistance. See that you do, the Supreme Council leader replied coldly. But this demonstration had the opposite effect of what was intended. Instead of showing our power, we revealed vulnerability. Now, reports are coming in of other subjugated species watching these broadcasts with great interest. As the Council leaders argued among themselves, a dozen previously conquered worlds began reaching out through secret channels to Earth with a simple message. We want to help. The message arrived on Earth using encryption technology humans had never seen before. President Rodriguez assembled the Emergency Council to review it in the underground command center. We are the Viridians, the alien on screen said. Its skin was a pale blue, with eyes that seemed to shift color as it spoke. We were conquered by the Council 300 years ago. We have watched your resistance with great interest. Alan Hayes leaned forward. What do they want? The Viridian continued. We can provide you with Council military protocols, command structures, and fleet movements. Others wish to join you as well. Over the next 48 hours, 6 more species made contact. The Krell, insectoid engineers who had built much of the Council's infrastructure. The Novan traders whose ships carried supplies across Council space. The Theresi, whose telepathic abilities made them valuable intelligence operatives. They've all been waiting for someone to stand up to the Council, Dr. Martinez observed as she reviewed the messages. They just needed proof it was possible. In her laboratory, Olivia had been studying biological samples provided by their new allies. What she discovered horrified her. The Council hasn't just been conquering species, she explained, displaying genetic sequences on the lab screens. They'd been experimenting on them, trying to splice traits they find useful. General Powell frowned deeply. Weaponizing biology. Worse, Olivia said. Some of these modifications were designed to make certain species more compliant. They'd been engineering obedience into conquered peoples. Earth immediately broadcast this evidence across all galactic channels. The response was immediate and overwhelming. 23 more species reached out, offering support. Ships began arriving in secret, small, fast vessels carrying representatives, technology, and information. The Liberty Coalition was born in a ceremony aboard the space station Artemis. Alien representatives stood alongside humans, each placing their hand, claw, or appendage on a simple metal sphere as they pledged mutual defense. Today we stand not just for Earth, President Rodriguez declared, but for all beings who deserve freedom from Council oppression. The Viridian representative, Commander Zinn, met with Alan Hayes immediately after the ceremony. The Council is in disarray, he reported. Your tactics confused them, but your moral stand has destabilized them more. Several Council members have begun questioning their leadership's decisions. We need to exploit that, Alan said. How soon can we strike back? On the Council homeworld, High Commander Zorax faced increasingly hostile questions. These humans were supposed to be primitive, shouted one Council member. Now they'd formed an alliance with our own subject species. A minor issue, Zorax insisted. We will crush this rebellion with overwhelming force. Your demonstration failed spectacularly, another member countered. And now our secure communications have been compromised. Just this morning, an entire supply convoy was ambushed. Sam Collins had led that ambush personally. Using intelligence from the Krell, his small fleet had disabled the Council ships without destroying them. The crews were safely evacuated, and the supplies, enough to sustain a Council army for months, were now being distributed among Liberty Coalition forces. Kelly Wright worked day and night with Novan engineers, adapting her shield technology to their more advanced systems. If we integrate your power management with our absorption field, she explained, we can create weapons that use the Council's own energy against them. Most promising of all was the information from the Theresi. Their operatives had infiltrated Council High Command for decades, gathering intelligence but never able to act on it. Now they shared the location of the Council's main weapons manufacturing facility. We can cripple their war machine in a single strike, General Powell said, reviewing the facility plans. Across Council space, unrest was growing. Species that had been subjugated for centuries began small acts of resistance. Supply chains faltered. Communications experienced technical difficulties. Council military commanders reported increasing difficulty maintaining order. In response, the Council did exactly what Earth had hoped. They diverted forces from the planned assault on humanity to deal with these new threats. They're playing into our hands, Alan said as he planned their next move. They've spent so long being unopposed that they don't know how to handle a real fight. The Liberty Coalition strike force assembled at the edge of Council space. 12 ships from 7 different species, each modified with Kelly Wright's shield technology and armed with weapons designed to exploit Council vulnerabilities. The target, Nexus Station, the Council's primary weapons manufacturing facility. Captain Alan Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiant, studying the holographic display of their target. The massive station orbited a dying star, drawing power from its intense radiation. Final checks complete, reported his first officer. "All ships report ready." Alan nodded. "Begin the operation." The coalition fleet split into 3 groups. The first, led by Krell engineers, would approach directly, appearing to be a routine supply convoy. The second group, consisting of Earth and Viridian vessels, would remain hidden behind the system's debris field. The third group, Sam Collins and a team of specialists, had already infiltrated the station disguised as maintenance workers. "Package delivered," came Sam's whispered transmission. Time delay set for 15 minutes. Inside the station, Sam and his team moved quickly through maintenance tunnels. The package, a modified version of Dr. Martinez's biological agent, was now circulating through specific sections of the station's air supply. It wouldn't kill anyone, but would cause temporary paralysis in the Council species' unique respiratory system. "Convoy approaching inspection point," the Krell commander reported. "They're scanning us now." "Security protocols unchanged," confirmed the Viridian tactical officer. "They suspect nothing." The station's defense grid remained inactive as the disguised ships drew closer. Suddenly, alarms blared across the facility. "We've been compromised," the Krell commander shouted. "They're activating weapons." "Ahead of schedule," Alan ordered calmly. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta." The coalition ships broke formation, their engines flaring as they accelerated toward the station from multiple angles. Station defenses tracked and fired, powerful beams that should have vaporized the approaching vessels. Instead, the right shields activated, absorbing the energy and glowing brightly as they strengthened. On the station, confusion spread as security officers began collapsing, affected by Martinez's agent now flowing through their breathing supply. Sam's team reached their extraction point, a small hangar where they had hidden a shuttle. "We're clear and departing," he reported. "Station defenses at 60% and falling." Alan directed the attack with precision. "Target their power relays first, then communication arrays. No unnecessary casualties." The station's main weapons manufacturing section, occupying nearly half the massive structure, was the primary target. Coalition ships fired specially designed missiles that didn't explode. Instead, they released nanobots programmed to dismantle specific equipment. "Sir, we're being hailed," the communications officer reported with surprise. The station's assistant director appeared on screen, visibly struggling to breathe. "Please, stop. We surrender the facility." Ellen nodded gravely. "Evacuate all personnel to the safe zones we've designated. No harm will come to them." As coalition forces secured the station, technicians began downloading the weapons designs and manufacturing protocols. The Krell engineers examined the production lines with particular interest. "These designs," one Krell chittered excitedly, "we can reverse engineer countermeasures for every Council weapon system." Elsewhere in Council space, coordinated strikes hit supply depots, communication hubs, and military outposts. Most encountered minimal resistance. The Council had never faced a multi-front insurgency before. On the Council homeworld, panic spread through the leadership chambers. "How did they coordinate such widespread attacks?" demanded one Council member. High Commander Zorax's authority was clearly waning. "The humans must have help. These strikes show knowledge of our systems only insiders would have." "Perhaps," said an elder Council member, "we should consider negotiating." "Weakness," Zorax snarled. "I am mobilizing our entire armada. We will crush Earth once and for all, and then hunt down every traitor species that helped them." Back aboard the Defiant, Alan received the reports of successful operations across Council space. Earth's colonies were now secure, and the Liberty Coalition was growing stronger daily. "They'll retaliate," General Powell warned during the secure briefing. "And they'll target Earth directly." "Let them come," Alan replied. "We'll be ready." The Council Armada gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system, the largest military force assembled in 500 years. Over 300 warships formed a massive wall of destruction, with High Commander Zorax's flagship at the center. "The humans have embarrassed us for the last time," Zorax declared to his assembled commanders. "We will crush their homeworld so thoroughly that no species will dare rebel again." Deep space sensors detected the Armada's approach. On Earth, civilians entered underground shelters while military forces took their positions. The atmosphere was tense but determined. "Enemy formation confirms our intelligence," Sam Collins reported in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. "They're using the spearhead configuration, designed to overwhelm defenses with concentrated firepower." General Powell nodded grimly. "How long until they reach our outer defenses?" 8 hours, Sam replied. "But I found something interesting in their command structure." He pointed to a complex diagram on the main screen. "The Council fleet operates on a strictly hierarchical communication model. All tactical orders flow from the flagship through 6 relay vessels to the rest of the fleet." "A vulnerability," Alan Hayes said, studying the pattern. "If we disrupt those communication pathways, their coordination falls apart," Sam finished. "But getting close enough to those relay ships would be nearly impossible." Dr. Martinez entered the room, looking exhausted but triumphant. "We've done it. The biological agent is ready for deployment. We've modified it to target the specific breathing patterns of Council leadership castes." "How do we deliver it?" asked President Rodriguez. Kelly Wright stepped forward with a small team of engineers. "We've developed specialized delivery drones, nearly undetectable, programmed to infiltrate life support systems." "We need a distraction," Alan said. "Something big enough to draw their attention while we position the drones." The Liberty Coalition gathered every available ship, a force only 1/3 the size of the Council Armada, but stronger in resolve. Representatives from 28 species stood united on their vessels, many flying ships they had once operated as slaves for the Council. Alan addressed the combined fleet from the bridge of the Defiant. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every world the Council has oppressed. We may be outnumbered, but they are outmatched." As the Council Armada entered the outer solar system, they encountered no resistance. Their long-range sensors detected Earth's defensive fleet gathered near Mars. "They attempt to make a stand at the Red Planet," Zorax observed with amusement. "Predictable. All ships prepare to engage." But as the Armada approached Mars, their sensors suddenly went blind. A massive electromagnetic pulse, larger than any previously recorded, erupted from hidden emitters on Mars' moons. "Countermeasures," Zorax shouted. "Restore our sensors immediately." In the temporary confusion, small stealth craft launched from hidden bases on the moons. Each carried a specialized team and several of Wright's delivery drones. While Council technicians worked to restore their systems, these craft slipped between the massive warships, attaching to hulls near environmental intake vents. Sam Collins led one such team, guiding his craft toward one of the 6 relay vessels. "Approaching target," he whispered, though there was no need for silence in space. "Attachment successful. Deploying drones now." Across the Armada, similar teams completed their missions undetected. The drones entered life support systems and waited, their sensors identifying command decks before releasing their invisible payload. As Council sensors came back online, they detected the Liberty Coalition fleet approaching. "There they are," Zorax said triumphantly. "All ships, prepare tow." His words faltered as he suddenly found it difficult to breathe. Around him, other Council officers began gasping, their specialized respiratory systems failing them. Across the Armada, confusion spread as commanders lost contact with the flagship. The strict hierarchy that had always been the Council's strength became its weakness. "Now," Alan ordered, and the Coalition fleet accelerated toward the disorganized Armada. On Earth, President Rodriguez stood in the command center, watching the battle unfold. "Send the message," she ordered, "to every corner of the galaxy. A simple transmission broadcast on all frequencies. The storm has arrived. Freedom begins today." Alan's voice came over the secure channel as his fleet engaged the now disorganized Council ships. Phase 1 complete. The flagship is isolated. Relay vessels compromised. Moving to Phase 2. The battle above Mars unfolded in chaotic brilliance. Council ships, once perfectly coordinated, now fired erratically. Some attempted to maintain formation while others broke ranks, their commanders making independent decisions without central control. Alan Hayes directed the Liberty Coalition fleet with precision. Focus fire on ships still following Council patterns. Let the confused ones drift. The Defiant led a squadron directly toward Zorax's flagship, which hung motionless at the center of the disintegrating formation. On its command deck, the High Commander struggled to issue orders through a respiratory system barely functioning. How is this possible? Zorax gasped as his officers collapsed around him. Sam Collins and his infiltration team had reached the core of the 6th relay vessel. Command systems accessed, Sam reported through his secure channel. Initiating broadcast now. Every screen across the Council Armada suddenly displayed the same message. Evidence of Council atrocities, biological experimentation, and enslavement compiled from records provided by their former subjects. Many Council crew members, seeing this information for the first time, laid down their weapons in shock. All Liberty vessels, hold your fire on surrendering ships. Alan ordered as white flags began appearing on Council vessels throughout the formation. Dr. Martinez monitored the effects of her biological agent from her laboratory on Earth. The paralysis will wear off in approximately 20 minutes, she reported. Just enough time for the truth to sink in. The Viridian and Krell ships broke through the weakened Council lines, heading directly for Zorax's flagship. They were joined by vessels from a dozen other species, each representing worlds that had suffered under Council rule. "This is Commander Zinn of the Viridian Defense Force," came the transmission to Zorax's ship. "Your armada is defeated. Your leadership exposed. Surrender now." On Earth, President Rodriguez prepared to address not just humanity but the entire galaxy. The communications array, enhanced by technology from their new allies, would reach farther than any human broadcast before. "People of the galaxy," she began, her voice steady and determined. "Today marks the end of the Council's reign of tyranny. Today we stand together, not as separate species, but as united peoples who share the same desire for freedom and self-determination." As she spoke, Sam Collins and his team secured Zorax himself, who could barely stand as the paralytic agent began to wear off. "You have doomed yourselves," Zorax wheezed. "The Council has ruled for thousands of years. You cannot change the natural order." "Look around you," Sam replied simply. "We already have." Throughout Council space, subject worlds received the broadcasts. Inspired by Earth's example and the Liberty Coalition's success, rebellions erupted across hundreds of planets. Council authorities, suddenly without military support, found themselves overwhelmed. Kelly Wright's technology had proven decisive. The shield systems that turned Council weapons against themselves were being rapidly reproduced and distributed to formerly oppressed worlds. "The Council relied on fear," Alan said as he watched Zorax being led away in restraints. "Fear only works until someone proves there's nothing to be afraid of." 3 days after the battle, representatives from over 100 species gathered at Earth's Artemis Station. The formal dissolution of the Galactic Council was announced, replaced by the Galactic Confederation, a voluntary association of equal worlds. Dr. Martinez stood with Alan Hayes, watching the diverse gathering of beings who had once been enemies. "It's remarkable," she said. "A month ago, we thought we were alone in the galaxy. Now we're helping rebuild it." "Humanity's best quality," Alan replied. "We never accept ultimatums. We find another way." Across the stars, the remnants of Council authority crumbled. Planets that had been mining colonies reverted to self-rule. Species that had been deemed inferior reclaimed their sovereignty. Ancient cultures, suppressed for centuries, reemerged. Earth's final broadcast to the galaxy was brief but powerful. "To any who would seek to conquer, enslave, or oppress, remember Earth. Remember what happened when humanity was threatened. The storm that broke the Council can break you too. This is not a threat. This is a promise of what free peoples united can accomplish. This is humanity's last warning to the galaxy. Sam Collins stood on the observation deck of the Artemis station, watching ships of all designs and origins come and go freely. "What do you think happens next?" asked a young officer beside him. Sam smiled. "We explore. We learn. We build something better." He looked out at the stars, bright and full of possibility. "And we make sure no one ever needs to give that warning again." I notice you're asking for Part 8, but the story outline I created was for a 7-part structure, which we've now completed. I'd be happy to write an epilogue or continuation that shows what happens after the events of Part 7. Here it is. 5 years passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The stars look different now to those who traveled between them, not just points of light, but homes filled with free peoples. Alan Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiant, now upgraded with technology shared freely among Confederation worlds. The ship no longer served as a weapon of war, but as an exploration vessel, seeking out new civilizations beyond the old Council borders. "Captain, we're approaching the Outer Rim," said his navigator. "These regions were forbidden under Council rule." Alan nodded. "Take us in slowly. Standard greeting protocols." The ship passed into uncharted space, where rumors spoke of species even the Council had avoided. Some feared these unknown regions, but humanity's curiosity could not be contained. On Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez headed the new Galactic Medical Exchange. Her laboratory, once focused on weapons, now developed cures for diseases affecting dozens of species. Researchers from 30 different worlds worked alongside her, sharing knowledge that had been restricted for centuries. "The Council kept us divided because together we're unstoppable," Olivia told a group of young students from various planets. "Not in war, but in solving the real problems that face all living beings." Her latest project involved undoing the genetic manipulation the Council had performed on subjugated species. Many worlds were still recovering from generations of engineered servitude. In the rebuilt chambers of what had once been Council headquarters, Sam Collins represented Earth at the Confederation Assembly. The circular room contained no raised platforms or special seats. All representatives sat as equals. "The outer colonies near the Andromeda approach are reporting unusual energy signatures," Sam informed the assembly. "Nothing threatening, but definitely artificial in origin." "Another civilization?" asked the Viridian representative. "Possibly," Sam replied. "We're organizing a diplomatic mission to investigate." The Confederation had learned from humanity's example. First contact would be made with respect and openness, not demands and threats. Kelly Wright had perhaps the most surprising role in the new galactic order. The engineer who had created the shield technology that turned the tide against the Council now worked with former Council scientists who had defected. "The problem was never your science," she explained to her team. "It was how it was used. We can take the same principles that built weapons and create something better." Her latest project was a network of energy-sharing stations that would provide power to any world that needed it. What had once been engines of destruction were being transformed into tools for life. On what had once been Zorax's flagship, now converted into a museum of liberation, President Rodriguez, now retired from office, guided a tour of school children from 20 different species. "The Council ruled through fear for thousands of years," she told them as they stood in the former command center. "They believed their way was the only way, but they were wrong." She pointed to a simple display showing Earth, a small blue planet that had seemed insignificant to the mighty Council. "Never underestimate the power of a people who refuse to be conquered," she continued. "But remember, our victory wasn't winning a war. Our victory was building peace." The children gathered around a memorial showing representatives of all the species that had fought for freedom. At its center was a simple plaque that read, "The storm came not to destroy, but to clear the air." As the Defiant approached the edge of known space, Alan received a transmission from Earth. New sensor data indicated intelligent life in the system they were approaching. "Proceed with caution, Captain," came the instructions. "First impressions matter." Alan smiled at the irony. The Council's first impression had led to their downfall. Humanity's would be different. "All stop," he ordered. "Prepare welcome package and translator protocols. Let's introduce ourselves properly." The ship hung in space, not as a threat but as an invitation. On its hull, beneath the name Defiant, new words had been added. "We come as equals." The storm had passed. What followed was something better than anyone had imagined. A galaxy where freedom wasn't just a human concept, but a universal right.